There she is. Puppy in tow.
Good morning.
Good morning, Robin. How are you?
I'm very well. Sorry to keep you waiting.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Absolutely fine. Everybody's rolling in here. So I'm gonna pin you up on the screen here. That's okay with you. So it is 8:30, actually 8:32. We're gonna get going. I'm gonna give you a quick intro, and then we're gonna just jump into a conversation if that works for you. Awesome.
That's great.
Thank you so much. So I had the pleasure of seeing Robin at Family Reunion at the CEO Summit. And I was just captivated by your story and your conversations, and it was really, really good. And I just wanted to see if we could get you on here and share some of that information. Tell us a little bit about you. I'll let you do your quick introduction.
Yeah, absolutely. So, good morning, everyone. My name's Robin. I get to work with groups all around the world around concepts around resiliency, performance, navigating stress and change. So, my background, I taught in the university for almost 20 years. I'm a behaviorist, so I study human behavior, and I help people handle the hard parts of their lives, hopefully a little bit better. So, that's essentially what I do. I live just outside of Toronto, Canada. I have three teenagers who keep me on my toes, and also obviously Apollo is here today too. And I am so excited to spend time with you in community this morning, talking about all things resiliency and performance.
Love it. Excellent. Um, One thing that really stuck with me when I listened to you was you said that resilience isn't about bouncing back, but bouncing forward.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I think there's a misconception that resiliency is to suggest that we're like kind of like bulletproof, right? Like the best of us are just able to be stoic, we're able to persist, we're really gritty, and we just always are able to just like bounce back from whatever it is. I think the key idea with resiliency, first and foremost, it's not something you're born with that you have or you do not have. Human resiliency is about essentially a series of behaviors and habits that allow you to have these experiences, choose how to respond to those experiences, and pave the way forward. So we don't want to waste a mistake. We don't want to, practice makes better. It's this idea of forward momentum that isn't just a bounce back to where I was. It's
Right?
this idea of moving forward into a future.
Love that. And that was one thing that really resonated with me. It's not bouncing back to where it was, but moving into a different place, a better place.
Yeah.
And I think resiliency is such a key um, attribute to have, and it's not easy. What has that taught you over the years?
Yeah. So professionally, what it's definitely taught me is just recognizing how to be able to stay adaptive and nimble. Like understanding, I really find there's a benefit to getting attached to process, not outcome. Like it allows you to have like a good idea of where you want to go, but be open to finding different trailheads or routes to be able to get there. And being able to weather some of the discomfort, especially as entrepreneurs, especially when there's so many things outside of our control, being able to have that nimbleness, being light on your feet, so to speak, it's extremely helpful. Personally, what I've learned about that process about resiliency is, as I talk about really openly in my work, is, going from a high school dropout to a university professor with a doctorate degree, right? Like that's a wee bit of a comeback story. And what that has taught me is that this isn't it's not in isolation, meaning that the principles and the practices that I teach and that I've done research on, it isn't only for one particular type of person or one particular area. These are universal practices that can help somebody navigate addictions, navigate learning disabilities. It helps change professional roles, identities in terms of relationships. It's just so multifaceted in terms of how we can apply this to our lives.
That so one thing that really stuck with me, you said you focus on the process and not the outcome, and that's something we talk about quite a bit. What are the downsides of focusing on the outcome?
I think what the biggest kind of downside of focusing on the outcome is that if, let's say, you come up short or it doesn't unfold in the way you predicted, you think you failed, right? And it becomes very personalized. So, for example, if I set out the intention that, I'm going to let's say sell 2,500 seats in this event that I have coming up. And if I sell 2,440, does that mean I failed because I didn't hit that target? And unfortunately, the way our brains are hardwired, we are fine-tuned to be more aware to negative pieces of information because they're more threatening. So, for example, if somebody gave you a review and 99 people said, you know what, Michelle, you know what, Julia, you are the best at your job. You are literally the best. And one person said, you're mid. Do you go home and do you bask in the fact that 99 people were like, you are amazing? Or do we focus on that one negative review or that one negative customer and all of a sudden like we need to find them and we need to fix them and we have to figure out versus just saying, wow, if I can get 99 people on board, I'm good. Right? So our brains are fine-tuned to notice the negative. So if that outcome has any of that peppered in it, we're going to lose the successes. We're going to lose those micro wins. We're going to lose the big picture and perspective.
Love that. In perfect micro wins, small wins.
Yeah.
I think we sometimes as we go through life, I think we just go, 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 and we don't recognize those small wins. We don't take time to really absorb and say, hey, I actually did really well right there. And so I think we pass by them. Tell me the importance of recognizing those small wins.
100%. So what we essentially do as human beings is that if we're not having what we call habits of mind. Okay, so habits of mind are how we kind of hold ourselves in the present. If we're not careful, our brain is going to jump to the future and we're going to feel really anxious about the uncertainty, about all of the pieces of information we don't even have yet. Or we're going to slip back to the past and we're going to feel depressed. We're going to replay some of those failures, some of those disappointments. Now, the secret is staying in the present. It's recognizing we have futures, we have a past, but where we have the most agency is in the moment. And when we actually slow down enough to be aware of what's going on, to be present, or what we call metacognition, which is thinking about our thinking, that's where all the power is. And again, that if we're not careful, we're going to just jump over things. We're going to jump over to the future, or we're going to be in that place and we're going to do a lot of what we call social comparison, where we're looking at everybody else to kind of gather, are we safe? Are we doing good enough? Are we doing well enough? But while we're looking at everyone else, we're not looking at the things that are the most important, the things that are right in front of us, which are those wins. Which are those things where, perhaps even being able to say, hey, I handled that better today than I would have a week ago. Because to me, that is the best barometer of success. Are you handling something better today than you did yesterday or maybe 5 years ago? If you're handling those things like rejection or disappointment, if you're handling it the same way as you did 5 years ago, my invitation for you is we gotta do a wee bit of a check-in and a check up, because I want you to level up. And what you've always done won't get you to where you've gone to go.
Absolutely. And we had Jordan Freed on a couple of weeks ago, and he was really good. One thing he said was, did I lead myself better today than yesterday? And that's essentially kind of what you're saying right there. Am I just a little bit better? I love that. Would you be open to sharing a little bit about your story? You talked about it, it's yours at the summit. Talked about when you were younger and a crossroad that you came to, and your mom telling you, hey, you can do hard things.
Of course. Yes.
And
So,
I was amazing story. So please.
okay, folks, here we go. So when don't worry, this will not be a TED Talk. I will keep it a brief. So when I was growing up, I grew up in a really solid household. I had terrific family support, things like I was that kid, right? I won that kind of lottery. I had a good upbringing. And I navigated a lot of challenges though in school. So I'm somebody who has ADHD, I have learning disabilities, and I'm somebody whose school was very, very difficult for. And I remember my mother would always kind of encourage me and tell me, I'd be like, wow, this is really hard. And she would be like, don't worry, Robyne, you can do hard things, right? She would always say, that's okay, reframe it. You can do hard things. Okay. When I was little, no idea what she meant. But when I was older, when I was a teenager, I can do hard things. Like that sentence ended up saving my life. Now, I'll tell you with some pretty radical candor. When I was that teenager, I was in a dark season. As I said, school was always really hard for me. And by the time I hit grade 10, I dropped out. Like school was not for me. And I even had an educator who used to tell me that they wish that there was like a level below basic or locally developed because they said I wasn't smart enough to be in school. And I believed them. I internalized that messaging. So grade 10 rolls around, not for me, I drop out. And this is something that I absolutely know to be true. The people who need the most help, we ask for it in all of the wrong ways. The people who need the most help, we ask for it in the wrong ways. And how I asked for help took the form of addictions, took the form of self-harm. I was hospitalized, institutionalized at 16. And I remember coming out of that hospital and my mother said, "We need to get your stuff together because we're moving." And I'm like, "Why are we moving?" And she said, "Because you need a fresh start and you need a second chance and you're not going to get that living here." So my family left their jobs. They sold their house. They moved from a large city to a small community where I was able to get well. And I'll tell you, when folks show up for you like that, you show up for them. So I got clean. I got sober. I was getting ready to re-enroll in school. And I just happened to get my driver's license at that time. And I had my learner's permit for a week. And I was driving home late at night in this new community. And a snowstorm rolled in. And I didn't know how to drive very well in the snow. And my vehicle ended up sliding off the road. It went down an embankment. And my vehicle crashed through the ice and my vehicle sank in the Otonabee River with me trapped inside. So within seconds, this frigid cold water comes rushing through the floorboards, and I'm drowning entombed in my car. And in that moment, I noticed that I wasn't scared. I felt angry that I couldn't protect my mom from what was about to happen. I was okay to die. I was not okay with what that would do to my mom. And when I started to think about my mom, it was like an emotional echo. It was a feeling where she would have been the first one to tell me that I can do hard things. So I recall leaning into that feeling. I was able to slip out of the seatbelt. I wasn't able to open the car door because the vehicle was already starting to crush, but I was able to take my fingertips and dig them into where the window met the door. And I was able to pull the window off a track. I was able to swim out the window. I got to the other side though, and I had no idea which way was up or down. They estimated the vehicle would have been about 20 feet underwater. And in that moment, I just remember like the only way to get my bearings was to exhale, to let go of all the breath that I was holding because I knew my bubbles would rise in water. And I remember swimming after those bubbles as hard as I could. And there was even a moment where I thought I was going to make it. And then all of a sudden, smash, something hits my face. I realized it's sheets of ice over top of the river. And in that moment, it was just a scramble. And I was able to break through the ice near the middle of the channel. But all I could do was hold the edge. Every time I tried to pull myself up, I'd fall back in, the ice would break. But that night, there just happened to be a gentleman by the name of Joseph. And Joseph just happened to see my car tracks in the snow. And he drove along that road. He pulled over his pickup truck. He grabbed wood and a chain from the back of his pickup truck, used the wood to make an X to support his body weight, and he crawled out onto that ice, slid out the chain, wrapped it around my body, and dragged me to shore. He was awarded the Governor General's Award for Bravery, which is the highest accommodation in Canada to a civilian for risking their life to save a stranger. And a wee while later, I woke up in the hospital and my mom was there. She asked me how I did it. And I told my mom it was very much because you told me I can do hard things. And my mom leaned in very close and said, it's not really what we ever had in mind when we used to tell you that, but we're glad it worked in your favor, dear. And as I shared at the summit, the reason I share that story very openly is because it's very much the origin story as to why I study human resiliency, because we're not defined by our biggest mistakes or the worst seasons we've ever navigated. It's part of the story, but it's not the whole story.
Sorry, I get emotional just listening to it. As a parent, as it just that was amazing, and
Thank
it's such
you.
a crossroad. And
Yeah.
yeah, wow. Um, Question about your book, Stress Wisely.
Yeah.
Okay, so you talk about being well in an unwell world.
Mhm.
What does stressing wisely look like in real time? And everything's feeling really urgent. What does that look like?
Yeah. Well, first, thank you for your feedback. I love that though sometimes we have those. I love that crying at 8:47, not on my, that wasn't on your bingo card this morning, Gloria. Sorry, darling. Um, First of all, thank you for trusting your feelings with me, to be able to be in your body and have like this physical reaction to hearing me share my story. Thank you for sharing that with me. When I wrote the book, Stress Wisely, How to Be Well in an Unwell World, I have to be honest that I didn't expect the world to be this unwell. Like I thought the world like might be a wee bit bumpy and turbulent, but I never forecasted it'd be like, oh wow, we're in for a doozy. And the way that I frame this and I look at it is recognizing that being well, like really being well. Like, I mean, like really dialed in with our relationships, like loving hard the people that matter most to us, being able to, create financial security with our entrepreneurial work or our businesses, like being able to still be kind when right now, like anger and hatred is being reinforced. Like to do that, to love hard, to show up boldly, to be brave, to be like good when the world is so not okay, to me, that is the most remarkable act of resistance. Like that is the best thing that we can do in uncertainty is get really solid and strong about the things that matter most, and then we make them matter most. So what does that mean in practice? It means like again knowing what matters most. It's being able to, yeah, like there's all this noise and all this negativity, but still being able to show up for the people that matter most to us. And a really practical example that that I shared before is a practice I've done with my own kids. And I have like three, I have three big teenagers. A practice I've done since they were little. And when I say big, I mean tall. Like my littlest is 6'6", big basketball kid. So that when I say that they're big people, um, a practice I've done with my kids ever since they were tiny is that when I see them again, when they walk in the door after school or after practice, or I walk in the door after work, I let my face light up. I'm so excited to see my kids. And one of Jackson's teammates, actually, he was here not long ago. And after I welcomed the boys, because I heard them come home, I heard Jackson's teammate say to him, he goes, dude, your mama is like the golden retriever of mothers. Like she just gets so excited to see you. And this is what I'm talking about. It's the little things aren't that little. They have a huge impact if we do them with the right intentions. So, how do we be well in an unwell world? We dial in these micro behaviors, whatever that looks like for you, and we lock into them because you know what? Yeah, there's going to be noise, there's going to be negativity. And if we're not careful, we're going to be so trapped in our minds of worry, of negativity, or where we have to go next, or that sense of urgency that there's so much more to do versus slowing down enough to make sure that we're present for those things that matter.
I love that. I love that.
Thank you.
Wow. Um, I know in your talk, you also talked about people who are caretakers and leaders and helpers who hold space for others.
Yeah.
What advice do you have to make sure that when you're doing that, you're not burning yourself out because of all that holding that space and being there for others? How does that
And
work?
yeah. So I think what's so important is this idea about knowing our role.
Mm,
And and this comes out as somebody with ADHD, I need people to give me very, very clear instructions. Like I literally mean, like my kids will look at me and be like, "Hey, this is important." I'm like, I'm here, I listen," and they're like, "No, no, no, eye contact, like eyes in, lock in. I'm telling you something that is important," and I'm like, "Okay," because I can move very, very quickly. So I need people to be really, really clear with what my role is. And so, for example, if my kids come home and they're kind of going through it, I'll ask them, do you want comfort or solutions? Do you want comfort or do you want a solution? In my work, when one of my teammates brings me a problem, before they even start, we have set up the practice where I will say, am I listening, offering advice, or intervening? Do you want me to listen? Do you want me to offer advice? Or do you need me to intervene? And 90% of the time, they just want me to listen. How we burn ourselves out in terms of these relationships is the fact that, when somebody's telling us their problem or what they're going through, we feel like we have to fix it. We feel like we have to solve it. It becomes something else on our to-do list. And that is draining. And more often than not, it's not even anything that gets used. So having that clarity. So if, for example, if somebody comes in and says, no, I need you to intervene on this. And I'll be like, okay, then we're going to action that. Then it's going to be something where I already have their buy-in. They're already looking for me to be a co-pilot in this experience. So then I get to action it. If somebody's telling me their problems and I'm trying to solve it, and I'm thinking about solutions or people I can put them in contact with or resources I can send them, and that doesn't go anywhere, that's a lot of wasted energy.
Absolutely. Wow. That's just a couple comments in the chat that might help somebody with their son. Something with Samantha, I think, said that, which is, hey, that's amazing. In today's world where everything is so fast paced, what's one daily practice that you could recommend to help people stay grounded and emotionally well?
What a big question.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Sorry.
So no, it's all good. Okay. There's so many different ways that we can approach this. I want to give you something that you probably haven't heard before. And because there's a lot of great information out there, right? There's a lot of great information. A lot of it, I'm going to be honest, it's junk. We know that about 2% of health information that's populated on social media is scientifically accurate. And that study came out of Dublin City University, where they evaluated 67,000 reels, and they discovered 2% are scientifically valid. So if you've ever felt bad that you haven't been doing all the things that they tell you should be doing or ought to be doing or could be doing, don't worry, they won't work anyway. So you're fine. Right? So I want to give you a gem that's actually a bit different. I'll give you a couple if that's okay. I know you said one thing, but I'll give you a couple.
That's okay.
Yeah. To really feel grounded, to remember and know what matters most, I have a practice where before I go to bed at the end of the day, it's a gratitude practice. And you might remember years ago, they were really popular, not as popular now, but they were those photo frames. You know, those photo frames where you can put like a carousel of pictures. Do you folks know what I'm talking about? Yeah. I have a carousel on my nightside table of all of the faces of the people who I love and they love me, past and present. And before I go to bed every night, that's how I settle my heart. I look at the people that matter most to me. And at the end of the day, if they're safe, if they are okay, even if they're not even with me anymore, I just know that if they're not with me, they're cheering me on from somewhere else. And the people that are here, that those are the things that matter. And as long as they're okay, I'm going to be okay. Closing your day with gratitude, I think, is a really powerful, overlooked strategy. The other little kind of takeaway, I really love this idea of as soon as you wake up in the morning, just get outside. As soon as we go outside, our nervous system will re-regulate. I get really concerned, especially for our teenagers, that some of them aren't breaking out of their front doors till like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? Like you have to get outside, because if you see the real world first, all of a sudden, all this noise and all the meetings and all the Zoom things and all the things that are demanding our time and our energy, they can stay in perspective. So I think getting outdoors, even if it's just for 5 minutes, stand on your back deck, your back porch, even your apartment window, whatever that looks like, just get outside. And the other, okay, I'm maybe going to give you one more. How about
that's fine? Go right ahead. Okay. Absolutely.
The other little practice is the idea to fall in love with your life. So many of us maybe love days off, or we love our vacation, or we love certain seasons. Find something in the every single day that you love. And a practice, and I do a gratitude practice, and it's based on the principle of habit stacking. Habit stacking is when you take a habit you already have, like for me, drinking coffee, and every time I hold a cup of coffee, I say, what are 3 new things that I'm grateful for? I use the act of having a coffee to say, what are 3 new things I'm grateful for? And I remember Jax, when he was little, he said to me, Mama, you're the only person I know who says grace or prayers over coffee. And I'm like, dude, I'm not saying grace over coffee, because you do it every time you get in, you have this little moment, you smile, you exhale, your shoulders relax, you just get into this such a lovely place with your coffee. And I'm like, oh, dude, I'm not saying grace. I'm just saying 3 things I'm thankful for. And he's like, well, isn't that grace? So falling in love with just something within your day, because I think there's an illusion that we'll have time later to enjoy it all. And I think that's probably one of the biggest lies.
Absolutely. Yeah, tomorrow is not promised.
Nope.
Nothing is promised. I'm going to take you off the pin here and move you back. And I kind of want to open it up. We got about 2 minutes left. I would love it if anybody's got questions, comments, something they'd like to toss at Robyne. I would love to kind of open it up. This has been fantastic. And I knew 30 minutes wouldn't be enough, but oh man, it went by way too quick.
May I ask a
hand
question?
up. Samantha, you're up. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not gonna lie, I missed a little bit at the beginning. We have a lot of construction going on here, but the parts that I did hear, especially about the ADHD, I am super ADHD, and whenever my son or my friends say something to me, I do the same thing. I'm instantly, what can I do? How can I help you? How can I solve your problem? So what you said really sat with me, and I'm definitely going to implement that in my life. And I just wanted to say thank you.
You are so welcome. So welcome. Please, keep in touch. On my social media, I have all of those little learning pieces. There's lots of them there. So please, especially as a fellow person who stick handles ADHD, I've learned a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I do have some ideas to pass forward. So please check that out.
I love that. Darlene, I believe that's your...
Yes, good morning. Thank you so much for this. I wanted to make a comment, comfort or solution. That is a game changer. I have 2 daughters in their 30s, and sometimes they call me and overwhelm me.
Yes.
And I never know how to react. My first is to come up with the solution. Yeah. But it may not be what they want. So I'm writing that down and putting it on my mirror so I don't forget. Thank you very much. That was a key point.
I love that for you. And I love that for you. And just so you know, be prepared that it's going to radically improve relationships. It's so amazing when we have clarity, because then we can just be present to listen, right? If they just want comfort, we'll be able to just be there to say, I got you. I got your back. You're not alone. No matter what, you have me. And just the notion too, I just was talking to a friend of mine yesterday on my podcast, and we were talking about when he went through a really, really messy divorce. He remembered walking through an airport, and he would usually have called his wife, but that obviously was not available to him. And he said, in that moment, Robyne, he said, I paused and I called my mom. And just the fact that your girls are able to call you, that is such a gift, to be somebody's phone call, right? To be somebody. I remember, as I just recently shared it on another episode of mine, where when I first met my son, when my son was born, and there I was, I had this little guy, and I'd look at him, and I remember being so overwhelmed with this feeling that I just never realized how bad I wanted to be someone. Right. And when I looked at that little boy, I was like, oh, I want to be this kid somebody. I want to be his phone call. And 21, he's now 21. I am still that phone call. And it's something that it's a privilege to be somebody's phone call. So thanks for that.
I love that. I wish we could go on. We have it stop at 9. It's actually 9:01.
Oh,
Robyne,
sorry.
Thank you. No, you were absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah. It was better than I expected, and I had some pretty high expectations. So thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me. Please keep in touch.
Absolutely.
Please keep in touch. Okay.
Thank you,
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.